let's talk college. If you've been following my channel for a while, you know that I made a video almost a year ago at this point all about why I chose the University of Minnesota. It's a great university, I'm content with being there, I'm getting my degree, everything is Gucci. But there are a lot of downsides to large universities that I feel like I was unaware of when I was applying to school, so I thought I would make this video to help people that are trying to decide between what type of size of school to pick during this college application process. If you're a senior in college or currently deciding to transfer schools, this video is for you. Before I get started, in no way am I trying to shame the school. Like I said, I love the school that I go to. I have a video all about the reasons why, but there are also some downsides that are important to note, especially if you are trying to decide whether or not this type of school is right for you. Now, a large university is definitely a type of school that many students thrive at, but it can also be an environment that isn't meant for everybody. But before we get started, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up because it does help, and subscribe by hitting that red button down below because we really are like one big family on my channel with lots of love to go around, and it's never too late to join. All you have to do is hit subscribe. I'm trying to hit 10,000 before the new year, and I am so close. I really hope that we can pull it off, but please subscribe. I'm doing a ton of holiday giveaways next month. I've actually planned out all of my videos through December, as well as my Vlogmas videos, which are starting very soon, so be sure to subscribe to my vlog channel. Oh, so many good things are coming. But enough about the good, let's talk about the bad. Just kidding, it's not really like the bad, it's just the downsides. I've made a list on my laptop about all the downsides of large universities, and let's just get right on into them. The first downside of large universities is definitely a fear that I had before joining the University of Minnesota, and that is getting lost in the crowd. Because you go to such a big school, obviously there are so many students that it's very easy to feel forgotten about or lost in such a big crowd. And with that, it's super important that you make the effort to stand out and not get lost in the crowd. But I've also heard students that have attended small schools, including myself, that found that when you are in a very small class, it might not be for you. Some people want the special attention and that personal relationship, and some people just want to sit in a lecture and do their own thing, because college is a time for you to be very independent and find yourself. But the first thing I definitely wanted to note was the key component that you may feel lost in the crowd at times, especially if it's your first year. The sense of loneliness totally overtakes you. And on that topic, it can be super difficult to make friends. It can be difficult to make friends anywhere. In fact, I'm doing a video all about why I didn't make friends in college, and hopefully this will help you understand that. But when you're going to such a large university, it can be really difficult to make friends naturally. You have to put a lot of effort into friendships and try to make yourself stand out and introduce yourself to a lot of people. But if you're not comfortable doing that, it can definitely be difficult making friends in college. The third downside to large universities is attending lectures by professors that don't know you. I'm in a creative writing class right now with over 300 people, and I've never met the professor. She hasn't even spoken. We just have guest lectures every week, but it's a huge auditorium and the professor definitely has no idea who I am. Some students like this because, like I said, it's an independent time where you can just sit there and take notes on your laptop or do some online shopping. But some people really want that personal and intimate relationship with their professors that get you on a one-to-one level. And I think that was the biggest shock coming from a private independent college preparatory school with small class sizes to a large university, is suddenly I'm just thrown into a crowd. Professors don't know my name or what I like or how I learn, and you're just there fending for yourself. The fourth downside to large universities is kind of on a lighter note, but also a serious note, and that is the constant fear of being hit by a car when walking to class, or, since I commute, being a driver and constantly fearing that I'm going to hit a student. I just don't know, like, they might just jump out. The University of Minnesota is a public campus, so cars and roads intersect the campus. It can be very scary driving through campus because there are so many bikers and skaters and walkers, and some of them listen to the streetlights, but most of them don't, so you have to be super observant. And as a driver, it's terrifying, but as a walker, it's also terrifying because you just don't know, like, did the driver see me? Should I cross? Can I wait? It's a lot to handle. And the fifth downside on this topic of commuting is that there is never available parking on my campus, and when you do finally find parking that is 20 minutes away from your class, it's about 20 bucks to park there. I've actually had to tell my professors at this point in the semester that I apologize, I commute to school, because sometimes I don't get to class until 20 minutes in, and when I have smaller classes where attendance is part of your grade and participation, I have to let them know that I get here 45 to an hour early before class, but I spend that time driving through campus trying to look for a parking spot. And then some days I get lucky and I find one right away, so it's definitely a gamble, but that is a downside to a large university if you ever need to drive there. And on this topic of commuting, the sixth downside to a large university is arriving to class 20 minutes late, saying, sorry I'm late, I couldn't find parking. The seventh downside to large universities totally depends on which university you are at, but at the same time, I believe this is kind of universal, and that is the lack of funding. Coming from a private college of liberal arts, there was tons of funding because tuition was like $60,000 a year. Transitioning to a public university, tuition is less, funds are less, and this year I've definitely learned a lot about the lack of funding, specifically in the creative writing department at the University of Minnesota. The creative writing department is kind of run by grad students, which is the reason why I may not want to go to the University of Minnesota for grad school, because grad students who are still students are kind of holding up the entire institution. Since the creative writing department is relatively new at the University of Minnesota, not a lot of professors and people with higher levels of education want to go there to teach creative writing, so you get stuck with a bunch of grad students that are doing it as part of their graduation process to get a master's. And although there is lack of funding, it's funny because I swear everything costs money at the University of Minnesota. Like, I have to carry my wallet with me everywhere, and when I went to a private smaller school, a lot of things were added into your tuition or free because the school was smaller and able to give that to their students. Now, the 8th downside of large universities I've already mentioned, and that is classes being taught by students teaching students. Some people are a fan of this. I personally am not. I did not want to go to a school where they had TAs or grad students teaching undergraduate students, just because I'm paying a lot for my education and I would really hope to have someone with a higher level of education and years of experience passing on their knowledge to me in a class. The environment when you are taught by a grad student is totally different than if you are taught by a professor who's been in the field for years on years and years and has a lot more respect for their subjects. I mean, don't get me wrong, a lot of grad students are awesome when you're taking classes because they usually grade easier, they're seen more as a peer, the content isn't as difficult. But at the same time, I'm someone that likes to be challenged. I like to have to study and work hard, and there is a big difference in my classes taught by professors that have been in the field for years versus a grad student that's just trying to graduate and get their master's. The next downside I have a lot of personal problems with. In fact, I've talked about this in a couple breakdown videos, and that is housing. So at the University of Minnesota, if you enter as a freshman, housing isn't seen as difficult. Like, sure, you can get into a dorm, but I came as a transfer student and I could not get housing. They straight up told me in the email that housing was only available to first-year students and that I should look into apartments on campus, which if I had a better job and if I had more time and money saved up, that wouldn't be an issue. But because of how often I transferred and some personal issues that I had gone through, I didn't have a lot of savings that I felt like wasting on an apartment. And coming from a school, like I said, that was private and kind of had this built into your tuition and room and board, it was definitely difficult trying to find housing. And in the end, I wasn't able to find affordable housing on my own in college, and I started to commute, which has its own downsides as well as benefits in itself. Another problem or downside that I had with large universities is the impersonal relationship between faculty and students. Like I said, I came from a college, prep school, and high school, and I had such a close-knit relationship with so many faculty members. I just almost expected the same to happen in college, but in fact the opposite happened, and I feel like I don't know anyone. I've tried, I go to office hours, I meet them, but it's totally a different relationship. And I feel like some faculty members view this as strictly a job without any additional commitments. What I mean by this is about a month ago, I went to my college counselor. Keep in mind, my college counselor, someone that I'm supposed to go to when I need help in college and aid me during this process. And I asked him if he would write me a letter of recommendation while I'm applying to grad school, and he straight up told me no. He said, go ask one of your professors, I can't do that. And I was like, when I told this to a friend, she actually asked, is that allowed? Can you say no? Especially when he's my college counselor. And I get it, he has a lot of students that he sees, and I don't see him that often. But on paper, when I'm applying to a grad school, I think having a letter of recommendation from your assigned college counselor probably looks pretty good, and I didn't get that option right now in undergraduate studies. So that was definitely a downside that I experienced recently in college. And the final downside is actually pretty brutal and cold, and that is that nobody is looking out for you. If you're struggling, you're on your own, and you just have to take care of yourself. Now, I know I'm calling this a downside, but it can also be seen as a positive and a really good push to growing up and becoming a functioning adult. Those are all the downsides that I have for you today in this video. I feel like this video was all over the place, but I just want to clarify that in no way am I trying to complain about my college level education or where I'm studying currently. But as a senior in college who was transferred 3 times, I wanted to highlight some of the downsides of large universities, since I did a video or two highlighting the downsides of smaller schools, and hopefully help you during this process, or if you're thinking of transferring or attending a large university and wanted to know for sure what to expect, this is what to expect. Comment down below how big your class size is at your school. Growing up, my class size was about 95 students. In college, my class size when I went to a smaller school was 500, and now my class size, I don't even know. It's like 2,000 to 3,000 or maybe 5,000. If you go to the University of Minnesota and know the answer, maybe you should just let me know, because apparently I don't know. But that is my video for today. I hope that you enjoyed. Again, be sure to give this video a thumbs up because it really does help my content, and subscribe to my channel so we can hit 10K and throw a party and a giveaway. That would be awesome. I hope that you're having a wonderful day, and I will see you on Sunday. Bye!